I've underlined the topic sentences. So this sentence, a pile of well-thumbed copies of a Shakespeare play is a common sight in secondary schools across the country, introduces the topic. It tells you what the rest of that paragraph is going to be about. So I want you to look at everything I've underlined, because it's not always the first sentence here.
Something special.
Now then look at the next one. Most English teachers would argue that one of Shakespeare's special qualities is his mastery of the English language. So you've got the word special here and the word special here, and that's the link between them. Then go through the shaded phrases and see if you can tell me what techniques the writer's using there.
Okay. Question answer.
Brilliant. Rhetorical questions. And what's the point of them? What do they do? Make you think. Brilliant. Yeah, that's it. You can do this. Hannah, are you okay? Yeah? How are we getting on along here? You've got 1 minute left. So you're trying to label any of the techniques that you can see in the shaded boxes. So for example, what's going on here? Why is this? Is it really necessary?
Is that a rhetorical?
Rhetorical questions, brilliant. You two okay?
Yes, thanks.
Yep, understand what you're doing? What are you labelling there?
Rhetorical question.
Rhetorical questions. Tell me the point of a rhetorical question.
It's not like directly asking the reader, it's just a question which they will answer.
Which makes them answer in their heads. It's trying to get them to engage with what you're saying. Good. Ryan. Oh, sorry. Yes, of course you can. Okay, so have a look at the shaded phrases and the shaded sentences. See if you can identify some of the techniques that we looked at last lesson. Tell me some of the techniques we looked at last lesson. What can you remember?
Which lesson was that then?
When we looked at, I'll give you a clue. If I tell you rhetorical questions was one of them, we talked about how asking questions. Can you remember any more?
Like persuasive stuff.
Persuasive techniques. So if you use I or we or you a lot, can you remember what that was called?
I can't remember what it was called. I just remember.
Can you remember the effect of it? Why, if you're a writer, it's good to say, I think this, or what do you think about this?
Gesture on the person who's reading's side, the same one as you.
Brilliant. It sorts out a personal relationship between you and the reader. They're called personal pronouns. You don't need to know that. That's just a term that would help if you wanted to show off. But the point that you know that it develops a relationship, that's what's important, okay? So well done. So see if you can label anything there. Okay, we're into our last 40 seconds, I think. That's okay, just whatever you've done.
Something special's about.
Say that again.
Something special.
So something special here, and then look at the next paragraph. What word can you see in this paragraph that might be...
Special qualities.
Brilliant. So that's looking at paragraph linking, special and special.
Thank you.
Anyone need any help? You stuck? So what you're doing, George, is you're trying to summarise what each paragraph is about and think about how it links together. So look at the fourth paragraph. What do you think the writer's talking about in the fourth paragraph? So it's talking about students not enjoying Shakespeare. Is it fair to study Shakespeare if students aren't actually interested in it? Yeah, so that would be your summary that you could write in this box, and then you go on and do the same for the next paragraph. Does that make sense? So have a go in your own words at telling me what that paragraph is about. Okay, 10 seconds. 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, can you put your pens down, please? And just very quickly, I know a lot of you haven't got to the end of that task, and that's fine. I just wanted to get you thinking about paragraphs. I'm just going to go through, I'm not going to read the whole article to you, but we're just going to look at the importance of those sentences that are underlined, first of all. So if we look at the first paragraph, a pile of well-thumbed copies of a Shakespeare play is a common sight in secondary schools across the country. That first sentence does what? It's the first sentence of the whole essay. Jack, tell me what you think it does.
Starts off the essay.
By doing what? It starts off the essay by word beginning with INT maybe.
Introduction.
Yeah, it's an introduction, so it introduces the idea. Well done. Now the second paragraph starts with Shakespeare's frequently referred to as England's greatest playwright, and there is no doubt that his plays are the basis of the British theatrical tradition. That sentence, again, sums up the topic. Ellie, tell me a bit more about that sentence. What do you think is important about it?
explains how good Shakespeare is.
Right, good. It explains a positive reason why Shakespeare might be studied in school. So it's obvious that in this argument we're going to start with the positives. Now at the end of that paragraph there's a rhetorical question. Clearly there is something special about this writer, but what is it? And I've underlined that phrase, something special. Can anyone tell me why I've underlined something special at the end of that paragraph? What does that phrase do when we look at the overall structure? Ashley?
The third paragraph also mentions special, so it links the two paragraphs together.
Brilliant, well explained. The next paragraph starts, most English teachers would argue that one of Shakespeare's special qualities is his mastery of the English language. And this is what successful writers do. They try and make their paragraphs link together. And a clever way to do that is to repeat one of the words from the end of the last paragraph and use it at the beginning of your next paragraph. Okay, let's turn over the page. So the last couple of paragraphs. I'm not going to go through all of them. Let's look at the sentence that starts near the bottom. The Shakespeare in Schools debate raises many interesting issues about what is and what should be important to a student studying English. On the one hand, it seems Shakespeare will always have an important place in history, and then it goes on the other hand, education needs to change. Then it ends that paragraph, Shakespeare might be an icon in our society, but then so is Kylie Minogue and David Beckham. Now, can someone volunteer to tell me why the conclusion goes well after the end of that paragraph? That bit about Kylie Minogue and David Beckham, how does the conclusion stick itself to that idea? How does it link to that idea? What's important there? So look at the first sentence of the conclusion. Perhaps the answer is not to scrap Shakespeare, but to give him more street cred. Can anyone see a link between that sentence and Kylie Minogue and David Beckham? Quite a difficult question. Well done, Alice.
It's kind of like referring them to teenagers' opinions.
Right, brilliant, because Kylie Minogue and David Beckham, people who teenagers might respect or be interested in. Street cred is a term that teenagers might use. It's talking about kind of being cool. Okay, maybe they don't use it. It's a term about being cool from a teenager's point of view, being young, being cool. Brilliant. Now, we've rushed through that a little bit, but what I want to concentrate on is having a go yourselves, is practicing doing something yourselves. So what I'd like you to do, put all the yellow bits of card back in the envelope, put this to one side for a moment. And on your desk, you should have an article that starts Style on Trial. Can you get that out, please? Style on Trial, an article on your desk, if you can just have that in front of you. Thank you. Okay, so now we're going to do some practice, or you're going to do some practice. So I've tried to pick a topic that you probably all feel quite passionately about. Lots of you moan about your school uniform. I moaned about my school uniform when I was at school. It's one of those things that everyone likes to rebel against a little bit. So here's an article about it, and the title, Style on Trial. Does your school uniform make the grade? Now, what I want you to imagine is that this is an article in a teenage magazine. Okay, so it's for teenagers talking about the school uniform debate. And the writer has already given you a plan. So you can see at the top of the page, there's already a plan there that tells you what the writer wants to write about in what order. They're going to start with an introduction, then they're going to talk about community image, then health and safety, then celebrating individuality, then the fact that it's uncomfortable, and then concluding. So they're going to start with the positive reasons for having a uniform, then the negative reasons for not having a uniform. Now, the first two paragraphs have already been written for you. Charlotte, would you read the introduction for us, please?
The majority of secondary schools in Britain have a uniform code that students are expected to follow. Is this a sensible decision made by the head teachers who want the best for their students? Or is it an out-of-date idea that gives teachers another reason to nag students, but doesn't help with teaching or learning?
Okay, so the introduction introduces the debate. You can see I've labelled it with the techniques. We've got a topic sentence and we've got some rhetorical questions. Billy, what do rhetorical questions do? Yeah, good. They make you think because they've asked you that question. Hannah, would you read the next paragraph for me, please?
Most schools believe that uniform helps to promote the idea of a unified school community. If schools wear the same clothes, they look smart, look similar, and therefore promote the same image to people outside of the school. As well as helping adults to identify the students as belonging to a particular school community, it can also be argued that uniform helps the students to avoid feeling under pressure to dress fashionable. Bullying is already a serious problem in many schools, so it would seem irresponsible to risk making this worse by introducing an opportunity for students to be bullied for what they are wearing.
Okay, thank you. So the next paragraph establishes the focus of a topic sentence. I can see some triplet power there. Look smart, look similar, promote the same image to people. So 3 ideas together because that's really powerful and supports the argument with facts. Bullying is already a serious problem in many schools, making the writer sound authoritative. Now the next paragraph, according to the writer's plan, is going to be about health and safety and preparation for work. And what I want to do is have a go at writing that paragraph, but with your help. So I would like to see lots of people who are volunteering to give me a hand as we go through and try and write this paragraph. So I'm going to do this on the board. Okay, so what I'd like you to do is, first of all, suggest a topic sentence that perhaps could link to that last paragraph. So the last paragraph was about bullying, about how it could actually be quite dangerous to get rid of uniform because bullying could rise. Now I want you to think of how we can link that to health and safety. Can anyone think of an idea that links those 2 things together? Alice?
Like some people were allowed to wear what they want. They might wear like really big hoop earrings, which it's like you're not usually allowed to wear.
Right, good. I'm going to remember that idea about hoop earrings because I want to talk about them later. I'm thinking that if we had a topic sentence that started with something like, another danger to avoid is, because talking about another danger immediately links to that last paragraph. We ended the paragraph with the problem of bullying. Now we're going to start the next paragraph with another problem, another danger. So another danger to avoid is health and safety issues. Full stop. Now, let's now use Alice's idea about the hoop earrings. I think it would be good to have triplet power again, to have 3 things that could be dangerous in certain types of classroom if you're allowed to wear whatever you like. So hooped earrings could be dangerous in a DT classroom where there are lots of machinery around that could actually, if you've got your earring caught in one of those machines, it wouldn't be very good. Can someone give me another idea, something else for our triplet power sentence that might be dangerous? Ashley? Sorry? High heels. What kind of classroom might that be dangerous in? Or anywhere in the school where that might be dangerous? PE. In PE?
Outside on the field.
Yeah, okay, good. Let's see if we can come up with a third reason then. A third, something people might wear that could be dangerous. Let's think about a science lab. What might be dangerous to be wearing around a science lab? Ollie?
Kind of jewellery or something.
Jewellery would be dangerous again. Can we think of anything different to jewellery? Charlie?
If you had like proper long hair, could get caught in a Bunsen burner.
Brilliant. If you had really long hair that wasn't kept tidy, wasn't kind of caught back, it could catch on fire. Certainly if you had lots of clothes with frilly bits on them, that could also be a problem. So let's try and turn that into another sentence. Another danger to avoid is health and safety issues. In a science lab, frilly clothes, can't think of a better expression at the moment, and long hair is a problem. And then a third, in a DT classroom,